Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Park Young-jun, the Chief Representative of Doha Bank Seoul Office. Thank you for Thank you very much for joining to our webinar of Doha Bank today. Qatar is famous for hosting 2022 World Cup for Koreans. Let me briefly explain about Qatar. Qatar is 11.5 thousand square kilometer of country, and which is about the size of Gyeonggi province in Korea. And the total population is 2.8 million. It looks like a small country, but GDP is about 180 billion US dollar, and per capita GDP is about 60,000, which is one of the most prosperous country in the world. And especially for gas reserve, Qatar is the world number 3 country, and about 1/3 of Korea gas imports from Qatar. Relationship between Korea and Qatar began diplomatic establishment in 1974, and Korean construction companies have been active since 1976. Qatar announced its plan to increase the annual production of 77 million tons of LNG from the North Field up to 110 million tons by 2024. When Korean companies are expected to perform well due to the largest scale project order plan in the energy sector. And last June, 3 Korean companies have won the about 100 LNG carrier shipbuilding, which is to transport the increased population. In addition, Korean companies are also expected to perform well in various areas of business, including expansion of Northern Gas Field, Facility E, construction of desalination complex, expansion of HAMAD International Airport, development of Al-Qasr solar power plant, and introduction of eco-friendly buses and smart transportation in preparation for the 2022 Qatar World Cup. Next, let me briefly introduce our Doha Bank. It is established in 1979 in Doha, Qatar, and has been actively operating through 24 branches, 7 e-branches, and 90 ATMs in Qatar. Doha Bank is also one of the largest international network banks in Qatar through 20 branches and rep offices overseas. Our Seoul office opened in 2008 and has been a bridgehead in various relations between Korea and Qatar. For agenda of today's webinar, following the speech by Mohammed bin Ahmed Al-Haiki, the Qatar ambassador to Republic of Korea, and next to the speech by Mr. Kim Byung-chil, the Director General of International Affairs Department in Financial Supervisory Service. Then Dr. Seetharaman, the CEO of Doha Bank, will present the subject to bilateral and synergistic opportunities between Qatar and South Korea. And I hope it will be great helpful to understand and grow your business in Qatar. Once again, thank you for joining today's webinar, and we'll begin with the speech from Qatar Ambassador Mohammed bin Ahmed Al-Haiki. Thank you. Ambassador.
Mute, it's mute. It's on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, good morning and good afternoon to all of you, depending on where you are. I would like to, first of all, starting by thanking my dear friend, Dr. Seetharaman, for giving me this opportunity by inviting me to say some remarks to this wonderful gathering through this webinar. The first speaker, Mr. Young-jun, didn't leave me much to speak about because he talked about all the points that I was listing here, but I will try to say a few things. Doha Bank is one of the most important national bank in Qatar, and it plays a very active and important role in Asia and Europe to facilitate trade and investment between Qatar and those countries. I would like to thank Doha Bank for their excellent role and endeavor to reach their goal of facilitating trade and investment between Qatar and those countries. Korea is a very important trade partner with Qatar. The trade balance between the two countries is between 14 to $15 billion a year. That makes Korea the second most important trade partner with Qatar. So that's very important, very close. So we're very happy that results. And in my capacity as an ambassador in this country, would like to work as hard as possible as it can be in order to advance further the trade and investment between our two countries. As Mr. Young John mentioned, Qatar sits on the helm of the exporting of natural gas in the world. So we're number one, indeed, producing about 77 million metric ton a year, and Korea is one of our most important gas consuming countries, and indeed we export about 33 to 34% of its total energy consumption. That's a huge quantity, and we are working with Korea in order to ensure a smooth supply to Korea in order to keep the giant wheel machine, industrial machine in Korea moving. As Mr. John correctly mentioned, we are also working on increasing the capacity production of liquefied natural gas by 64% from current 77 million metric ton now to about 127 million metric ton by 2027. And therefore, of course, we need more of those giant tankers to carry liquefied natural gas to the outside world. And we have chosen Korea because we have a great trust in Korea and its advanced technology to provide us with around 100 of those big tankers. And we struck a deal on June 1st with the big three makers of those ships, mainly Samsung, Daewoo, and Hyundai. And we're very happy with that deal because it came at a very sensitive time for those companies in particular. As you know, that the country, as the rest of the world, is going through the pandemic of COVID-19, and it is affecting the economy in this country as it is affecting other economies in the world. So this deal came in a perfect time between our two countries. Talking about Corona, I think that we're very happy to be in Korea at this particular time. Korea has to be commended and applauded for its wonderful effort to contain and control the virus to a great extent that it has set really the example for the world to follow. There have also been a very important provider for Qatar, as a matter of fact, and to the outside world as well, with efficient equipments to deal and to detect and to treat this virus. So we're very thankful to Korea. As you have also correctly mentioned, that Qatar will be hosting a very important sporting event in 2022. That's the World Cup. It's a very big and a very complicated endeavor for a small country like Qatar to take, but we have accepted and taken the challenge. We are a small country, but we are a very strong country by our people and the residents who are in Qatar, and I think that we will leave a superb legacies for the world to remember once we host the tournament in Qatar. I would like to say in this regard that Korean companies are playing a very important role in assisting us to reach the goal of hosting the event in 2022. Many giant Korean companies are working on the infrastructure, roads, sewage, and building stadiums in the cities that will host the event in 2022. So we're very thankful to Korean efforts in assisting us to reach that goal. One more thing I'd like to mention, you talked about the expansion of Qatar Airways. Indeed, doing that, the airport, indeed, we're doing that. And Qatar Airways, as you may know, is playing a very important role as a world-leading airline. And it also contributed to move Korean citizens who were stranded in other parts of the world back to their country to be with their families in time. So these are the basic points that I just wanted to mention very quickly, since I've been given 5 minutes and I don't want to exceed that time, and I do apologize if I did. Once again, I would like to thank you very much for this wonderful occasion to join this webinar. And I would like to thank again my dear friend Dr. Seetharaman for this wonderful invitation. And I wish bank and those who are gathering here a wonderful opportunities. And there are certainly lots of opportunity, notwithstanding the COVID-19 effects, for the bank to work on new opportunities and new investment and new trade to facilitate new trade opportunities between the two countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Byung-Sil Kim, Director General of International Affairs Department at the FSS Korea. I should say this is a very special gathering as it is taking place via webinar amid unprecedented challenges of COVID-19. And it's my great pleasure to be a part of today's meeting. I would like to begin my remarks with my thanks to distinguished Qatar's Ambassador to Korea, Mohammed bin Ahmad Al Haiki, for gracing the occasion, as well as to Dr. Seetharaman of Doha Bank for hosting this wonderful event. Distinguished guests, as Korea and Qatar mark their 46th anniversary of diplomatic relations this year, we see the two countries' relations strengthening each and every day. A great example showing this is the National Museum of Qatar in Doha, constructed and built by a Korean company last year. And taking the shape of a desert rose, the museum is as if to symbolize the blooming relations of Korea and Qatar. We also saw firsthand the deepening economic and technological cooperation between Korea and Qatar last month, when Qatar Petroleum signed a $19 billion LNG carrier agreement with major Korean shipyards. Furthermore, the two countries have been close friends, even in the face of the novel virus, with Korea providing COVID-19 test kits to Qatar and sharing its experience on the prevention measures. And the Emirates visit to Korea last year, as well as the numerous MOUs signed during that time, signify an ever closer relationship of the two heads of the states. However, when it comes to financial relations, the level of cooperation between the two nations has only been minimal, notwithstanding some signs of financial cooperation, such as the MOU between Korea Exim Bank and Qatar Development Bank. There is still much room for improvement. That being said, I think we can tap into the 2022 Qatar World Cup to take our financial cooperation to the next level. I was told that Qatar has been working to establish a smart and green transportation system to to make this global sports event a success. And I hope to see Korean financial companies take part in financing the projects that are needed to prepare for the upcoming World Cup. Going forward, financial cooperation of the two countries will take an even greater role in the post-COVID era. As we see every day, the recent COVID-19 outbreak is giving rise to new trends like untapped services, internet-only bank, data industry, and ESG, etc. And in response to these rapidly changing environments, it's essential that Korea actively cooperate with Qatar by passing on its knowledge on fintech and sharing successful cases of financial innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, being more than 7,000 kilometers away, Korea and Qatar seem to have two very distinct cultures on the face of it. But deep down in the core, we both are the people who cherish the values of honesty and trust. And I believe that this is exactly why Korea and Qatar could stay close, even in times of difficulties like the COVID-19 pandemic. And given Korea's strong, long-established track record of partnership with Qatar, I'm sure we'll continuously be great partners to each other going forward. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. Your Excellency, Mr. Mohammad Ahmad Al-Haiki, Qatar Ambassador to the Republic of Korea, Mr. Kim Byung-chil, the General Director of International Affairs, Financial Supervisory Service, fellow bankers, distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and privilege to be an integral part of this interesting conversation. Qatar and South Korea are extraordinary friend and partner over the years. The diplomatic relationship started way back in 1974. It's a very synergistic relationship in terms of substance and substantive compliance, whether trade or investment, banking or finance. It is a true measurement of friendship and extraordinary sense of cohesive success. As a win-win model, Qatar and South Korea has evolved over the years. I'm going to showcase some of the changing dynamics in global space and how Qatar and Korea are measuring it, managing it, evolving to be a fine combination of friend and partnership. And that's the purpose of the session. And we also want to showcase with these changing dynamics in the world, how we can add value to your business, whether you're a trader or an investor or a banker or a contracting company or a manufacturing company. We are here as professional intermediary, as a financial service to support the mission. Doha Bank, in its substance, as His Excellency has mentioned, we commenced our operations 40 years before. Our relationship in Korea itself is enduring its value since 2008. His Excellency, the governor of the central bank, none other than governor of the central bank, came physically and opened our office. That shows the commitment and the relationship we value between these two nations. Qatar is a country of great substance and substantive compliance. Here is my complimenting clips to show you in picture form some of the testaments which you should see today. Let me go to the presentation inside. Now, what's happening in the world is quite transformational. Transformational in terms of economic governance, transformational in terms of social governance, transformational in terms of human existence and human governance, and again, environmental governance. How these two countries have managed it and evolving to be a fine partner. Now let's look at, in global terms, this pandemic has transformed very many changing dynamics. In terms of fiscal and monetary side, convergence has taken place in global terms. Leave alone the tragic loss, but countries are coming together. 194 countries have been impacted. We have reasons to believe we have to protect this planet, endure its value for humanity and human prosperity. Let me show you some of the meaningful clips here. Let's talk about the global economy for a few minutes. Then Qatar economy. Qatar, Korean bilateral partnership, before that South Korean economy itself, as a testament of finest combination of economic, social, and human governance. Global economies, since the beginning of this year, is going through this trauma. And we have been challenged in terms of sustainability. Watch this. Clearly, we are seeing from a global growth, when we predicted in last year, October, in IMF, International Monetary Fund meeting in October last year in Washington, we revised to a contraction in June. The same IMF has predicted clearly you're going to have 4.9% contraction in the global growth. That's unimaginable. We are talking about a regression, 3.7 plus 4.9. 8.6% is the total impact, whether it is advanced economies or developing economies, no exceptions. Advanced economies are grossly underperforming to the tune of 8%. Contraction is 8% for advanced economies. When it comes to developing economies, again, they're going to be contracting not less than 3% in aggregate terms. That's huge. Developing economies incrementally producing the productivity, global productivity to the tune of 60-65%. Today, they are also contracting. The difference between 2008 crisis that was confined to financial crisis, that was mainly focused on finance, and advanced economies were grossly underperforming, and developing economies, emerging markets, were performing. Here, there's no exception to the frame. Everyone is in contraction except China, a marginal indication of 1% positive growth. That's subject to the alignment in terms of global trade and investment banking and finance. Who knows? Some of the contentious issues between the world power in terms of trade, and again, financial markets, which are stocks or currencies or commodities or bond or properties, today are all in gambling markets, gambling grounds, just highly volatile, defy the logic in terms of economic fundamentals. There is no connectivity between the barometer and the actual financial markets. That's the stage we are in. So what do? The economists, politicians, bankers, technocrats, central bankers are all coming together to see whether we can align. G7 has become G8, G8 has become G20 way back in 2008. The liquidity was moving into a funding crisis, funding moved into a solvency and sovereign issue those days. Today, we have learned lessons. This is not financial crisis. The financial system is much more stable. Financial Stability Board was constituted way back. Supervisory framework was set in with the realignment. And again, the capital rules have changed way back in 2008 and 9. Basel II has become Basel III. At least fundamentals have been set in. The design is strong enough to balance the frame. But you have to come out with improving the liquidity, improving the debt servicing capacity, ensuring liquidity is there, and every individual or institution is in a position to sustain. So we have to move from disaster recovery to business continuity. And that is the name of the game. So what do? This is what policy definition is.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has kept interest rates unchanged at 0 to 0.25% and said it would keep interest rates near zero through 2022. It also projected the U.S. economy would shrink by 6.5% this year, but bounce back with a 5% gain in 2021.
We're not thinking about raising rates. We're not even thinking about raising rates. So what we're thinking about is providing support for this economy. We do think this is going to take some time.
That's the point. You have to reduce the interest rate, if not a negative interest rate. At least now we know there will not be any incremental rate, and it's close to zero. And that's where US Fed, why I'm referring Federal Reserve, we are parity linked to dollars, as Qatar currency, Qatari Riyal, is parity linked to dollar. Not only US Federal Reserve, Bank of England, or Korean Central Bank, or for that matter, you have European Central Bank, are all converging on one thing. We have to reduce the interest rate. We have to improve the debt servicing capacity. We have to meet affordability in terms of servicing. And that's what the need of the hour. What the European Central Bank has done, here is the take. Pumping liquidity is a solution. And that's what exactly every country has done. And let's see what exactly Qatar has done. Qatar, from a humble beginning of $8 billion 28 years before today, is a country of great substance. Political progression, social progression, economic progression have been the telling story across the globe. It has touched over $200 billion. The hydrocarbon, non-hydrocarbon growth are all extraordinary accomplishments. And we have seen the governance is converging in total terms. Healthcare, education, building a knowledge economy, infrastructure creations have been stupendous for us to see. Here is a model economy. Qatar, in the current context, is going to produce between 185 to 190 billion dollars as the GDP. Essentially, there is a contraction of 4.5% next year if the global economies are going to recover and world restores normalcy. And again, we will be performing not less than 4.8% economic momentum. Some of the important clips I have to show you is Excellency Ambassador has mentioned in his speech how the commitment to infrastructure and again, a hydrocarbon comes in. Let's see some of the interesting flips. In terms of economy, we have reasons to believe we are performing well, and the banking side itself has taken enormous measures.
Located on the region's busiest shipping route, Qatar is perfectly positioned for international trade, with direct air and sea connections to Asia, Africa and Europe. Qatar is becoming a leading destination for next-generation business models. Its thriving, knowledge-based economy has helped secure its place among the most competitive business environments in the world, an ideal destination for foreign investment. The past 4 decades have seen a 9-fold increase in Qatar's population to 2.7 million. The current political blockade by neighboring countries has only served to strengthen the nation's self-sufficiency, and strategic investment continues to accelerate. Qatar has already spent $33 billion on infrastructure projects, with new contracts to be awarded over the next 3 years, not least with the 2022 FIFA World Cup on the horizon. The national strategy, Vision 2030, is even more ambitious. Qatar is known as the world's leading supplier of liquefied natural gas and a leading player in aviation and sports and the media.
That's the bird's eye view of Qatar's enlightened vision and execution. More to say in terms of central bank, what has happened in terms of monetary policy. 20 of initiatives, $20.5 billion equivalent, 75 billion Qatar Riyal was sanctioned by His Highness Emir of Qatar. The central bank has taken the monetary measurements to improve the liquidity. The fiscal measures have also been taken, and interest rates was brought down in line with the synchronized monetary policy alignment with the US dollar. We have postponed the loans, we postponed the interest, and again, we have service charges we have waived, and also national guarantee program from Qatar Development, wage protection systems, plus rent waivers, customs duty, name a few. Extraordinary set of commitment for us to see the business continuity. Financial stability comes in prospects. And that is the purpose. Like a prudent fiscal and monetary alignment was brought in. That's commendable. Now let's look at what is ahead of us in terms of the opportunities.
As I mentioned, regarding the North Field, we are full steam ahead. We are, as we have mentioned in the past, we're going to be awarding all our contracts for North Field expansion project. We have two phases, the east and the south expansion. We're going to go from 77 million tons per annum to 110 million tons per annum by 2025, and then up from 110 to 126 by the year 2027. We've ordered all the shipping requirements, and we've booked slots for about $20 billion we've announced just a couple of weeks ago, and that's at a cost of around $20 billion US, and we've booked up 60% of the entire world's capacity of building LNG ships. So these, we call them our moving pipelines, if you will, but that's to have our full supply chain up and ready by the time we have all the developments in place.
That's the level of commitment. So it's going to be scaled up. Ambassador has mentioned clearly the scaling up the LNG hydrocarbon, and again, allied transportation as well. Shipbuilding comes from Korea as well. So extraordinary set of initiatives have been taken on the hydrocarbon side. Let's look at the non-hydrocarbon. So these are some of the engineering marvels in terms of design and executions. You're all welcome to 2022. His Excellency was mentioning, and we are here to host you with absolute hospitality. Let's look at the airport now. I have taken all the precautionary measures in terms of COVID, and here is.
The world around us has changed and placed new challenges to the travel experience. At HAMAD International Airport, we have embraced the change and elevated our safety measures. We are adopting new wearable intelligent technology. Smart screening helmets are safe and effective. It uses advanced technologies like infrared thermal imaging, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality display. Staff will continue to be screened, as well as passengers, at arrival and boarding points. We have also introduced disinfection robots, which reduce the spread of infectious germs in crucial areas using ultraviolet light. Thorough sanitization and disinfection will continue to take place at all high contact areas. Baggage handling belts, trolleys and tubs will be routinely disinfected. All departing, arriving and transferring baggage will be disinfected as well. Hand sanitizers will be made available at all key locations. Social distancing of 1.5 meters will continue to be established through floor markings, clear signage, and implementing distance seating. We are here, and we are ready to provide you with a safe journey in the future so that you can travel with confidence once again.
World-class infrastructure and world-class airline. And that's what exactly Qatar Airways is all about, and the airport, HAMAD International Airport, is all about. So we are all set. That's not allowed. Qatar as an economy has taken a lot of initiatives. Here are some of the clips. Qatar exchange traded funds. Your ability to invest and make the most out of it. one silver bullet solution. Qatar's economic barometer is reflected in this exchange traded fund. Here is the time. Let me invite my colleague, Mr. Goodney. He's the head of Treasury Investments, and it's my pleasure. Goodney, are you there?
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Very well, gentlemen. What was the performance of exchange traded funds over the years?
Yes, actually, that's a good question. Since the inception of the fund in March 2018, it has, on total return basis, yielded just over 60%. If you look at the whole market, the Qatar exchange, return over that period has been close to 20%. And that puts our Qatar exchange in the top 10 category in the world, which I think is definitely good news. And that shows, I think, one of the key factors of Qatar. If you look at Qatar through the lens of a global investor, you come, basically two things that pop to mind: strong fundamentals and a good relative value, which again is demonstrated by the performance of the stock market. This, I think, is something that investors now are focusing more on than ever before. They are focusing on which economies have strong fundamentals, which economies are going to emerge from this COVID situation stronger and better than before. And I think Qatar is definitely one of them. And this is not for equity investors. This is also for more broader spectrum of investors. And again, fundamentals play a great role in that. Qatar government bonds, dollar denominated, and keep in mind, Qatar is a AA rated country. These bonds yield over 2%. And if I put that into context with what Chairman Powell was just saying in this video clip a moment ago about rates being close to zero, then 2%, yeah, that's definitely better than zero. For those who want to become slightly more adventurous and want to invest in the local currency, our riyals, you can get the returns of over 3.5%. That is something you don't find in many other places. So that is, again, an example of strong fundamentals and good relative value. Again, last but not least, Qatar has a very strong banking system. Singular rated banks in the region, and for investors, they can get exposed to that frame and that scope through both senior and subordinated bonds that offer, again, good relative value. So I think it doesn't matter in which way we look at the market. These things, they stare us back as a mirror. Fundamentals are good, relative value is there, and I think this is something that global investors are focusing more and more on, and will be doing so in the future.
That's splendid. You have summed it up very well. In terms of investments for Korean corporate or individuals or institutional investors, here is opportunity in multiple forms. Thank you, Goodney, for your wonderful insight. Let me move on to the next one. Look at the free zones.
Authority is establishing a cluster of free zones, including Ras Bafuntas, located beside HAMAD International Airport, the best airport in the Middle East, and Al Hul, with direct access to HAMAD Port, the world's biggest greenfield port development. Qatar free zones offer foreign investors 100% ownership, zero customs duty and corporation tax, no individual income tax, quick building permits, and access to a skilled workforce. On the ground, free zones also provide fully serviced plots, dedicated security, hotel and retail facilities, as well as advanced broadband to ensure optimal connectivity. While Qatar welcomes investment in any sector, exciting opportunities already exist in logistics, e-commerce, food packaging, pharmaceuticals, and plastics. With an eye to the future, we're also focused on disruptive industries, such as renewable energy, power storage solutions, and artificial intelligence. Be part of the Qatar Free Zones initiative, with everything in place, from essential infrastructure and facilities to ease of shipping and customs. Your business can flourish as a truly global player in partnership with the Qatar Free Zones Authority.
You have special economic zone, you have free zones, you have flat income tax rate of 10%. For the corporates, individuals are not taxed. What else you want? You have airports, world class, you have seaport, excellent infrastructure, which completely modernized, and you have free zones to support in multiple forms. Let's move on to the next opportunity we have. Investments. Yeah. See the shadow, sunset rather, and you could see Doha Bank as well. Ambassador, next time when you visit Qatar, you're most welcome to our bank as well. And let me also invite Mr. Kim. You're most welcome to Doha, and we are here to host you. And here's the time, let me ask, when it comes to Korean companies, Mr. Ahmad Naji, my head of corporate and commercial banking, are you there? Hello, Ahmad. Okay.
Good morning.
Now, yes, good morning, Ahmad. Tell us how you can help the Korean companies from corporate and commercial banking perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Sita. And we in Doha Bank consider ourselves the bridge between Qatar and Korea. We have a strong international network. We have supported the Korean companies in opening accounts in Qatar. By CASA accounts, we have financed their contracts and their tradings. We have opened many LCs to the suppliers through their agents in Qatar. We have our rep office in Korea, which we can facilitate to open accounts in Qatar. We have introduced, we can introduce through our client base, the companies to link them together in order to work and start business and the trading in Qatar. We have many opportunities in Qatar through the different sector for the companies in Korea, such as the telecom, ITs, projects, electronic, automobile. We can open accounts for them, providing them working capitals, invoice discounting, issuance of the tender bonds in order to start the business contracts, performance bond, advance payment guarantees. We have done a lot of syndication through with the Korean companies financing their projects. We will support them and continue supporting and financing many of the successful projects. We are currently having ongoing projects with the Korean company, supporting them and looking forward to deal more with the Korean companies.
Well done. Yeah, we can support both on the funded side as well as non-funded side. Well said. And let's move on to the next one. See.
يعتبر توفر بوابة إلكترونية موثوقة لخدمة الإنترنت المصرفي أمرا ذا أهمية قصوى. أهلا وسهلا بكم في البوابة الإلكترونية لخدمة الإنترنت المصرفي للشركات في بنك الدوحة، والتي تعد منصة رقمية متكاملة للخدمات المصرفية للشركات. تم تصميمها لتلبية جميع متطلباتكم المالية. دعونا نتطرق إلى محمد الذي تغير أسلوب حياته بالكامل بعد استخدامه لبوابة خدمة الإنترنت المصرفي من بنك الدوحة، حيث تقدم قائمة الأنشطة لمحة شاملة ومفصلة عن نشاطه المالي. وبفضل خدمة الإنترنت المصرفي من بنك الدوحة بإمكان محمد تنفيذ جميع معاملاته براحة تامة من مكتبه.
This is what Ahmad was mentioning. We can support through online portal for the corporate and commercial banking. We also have a specially tailored SME. I'm going to show you the clip, and perhaps it is time to invite the opportunity, what we can provide. Atul, are you there by chance for Korean companies? How can we support the small and medium-sized entrepreneurs in multiple forms? Atul?
Yeah, boss, I'm here.
Yes. What are the support you can give for to our Tadweer program or development programs, Al-Damin? What are the opportunities?
Good morning, His Excellency, Dr. Seetha. Doha Bank was the first bank in Qatar to start specialized SME unit way back in 2007, because at that time there was an abundance of opportunities available for SMEs to grow, and of course it's still there also. We started our SME program under a brand image of Tatweer, which is still which is one of the highest rated brand in Qatar. Under this program, we offer a lot of specialized banking solution in terms of credit facilities as well as specialized services under this. Under credit facilities, we have products like funding working capital facilities, we have capex financing, we have services like cash management, internet banking, and of course, we have an e-commerce website, Doha Souq, which offers a platform for SMEs to advertise their products. And quite a few SMEs have already grown out of this e-commerce website. And I feel Qatar offers a complete package to SMEs there in terms of infrastructure available, growth opportunities available to SMEs, in terms of tourism sector, in tourism service sector. We feel service sector is going to grow very fast in the next 2-3 years because of the infrastructure is fully almost developed. And I think this is a time for SMEs to step into service this infrastructure development in Qatar.
That's right.
And abundant financial support is available through banks and Qatar Development Bank, which is of course the apex bank in the country to support SMEs.
And you are partially guaranteed as well. So nearly 86% of the lending is guaranteed for commercial banks from Qatar.
Right. We are the partner bank with Qatar Development Bank, and in fact, we just to share with you and to everybody on audience, we were rated as the best partner bank with Qatar Development Bank for the last year.
We are going to invite Korean companies to come and join and part of the overall, we'll create a win-win model. We move on to the next one. Korean economy is again a telling story. Extraordinary set of performance, 2.3 trillion. And even during these pandemic days, the economic projection, the contraction is bare minimum. It's going to be less than 1.3%. And essentially next year, with the normalcy restored, Korea is going to do 3.3%. Inflation is completely moderate, 0.27%, and possibly they will run with current account surplus, and that's a model economy. And let's see Korean economy in substance. As an economy, an outstanding performer, and watch that.
Against market expectations, the Bank of Korea slashed its policy rate by 0.25 percentage point. The central bank also projected minus growth for the Korean economy this year, the first in 11 years. The negative growth forecast is believed to have led to the rate cut.
That says it all.
The Bank of Korea's Monetary Policy Board held a rate-setting meeting and lowered the key rate by a 0.25 percentage point to an all-time low of 0.5%. The decision was unanimously approved by all board members. The BOK carried out a 0.5 percentage point rate cut 2 months ago, and market expectations were betting on a rate freeze this time. The latest trim comes as the global economy is rapidly contracting amid the coronavirus pandemic. Korean exports last month dropped 24% from a year ago, causing a deficit in the trade balance for the first time in 99 months. For these reasons, the BOK has further lowered this year's growth forecast by 2.3 percentage points to minus 0.2% negative growth, alongside another rate cut. A minus growth forecast by the central bank is the first in 11 years since the global financial crisis. But even this prediction is based on the premise that the pandemic will be subdued.
이번 전망은 전 세계 코로나19의 확진자 수가 2, 4분기 중에 정점에 도달하고 국내에서도 대규모의 재확산이 발생하지 않을 것이라는 전제 하에로 저는.
With the government expected to announce a third extra budget bill, Bank of Korea Governor Lee Ju-yeol said insufficient response will bring about even greater long-term losses and pledged support to spur recovery in growth.
That's the point. Now we have seen trade extraordinary set of bilateral trade, nearly 13.3 billion. Let me call the trade finance expert here, Mr. Namit Gatani. Are you there, Mr. Namit? Namit, because we have been supporting the Korean companies in terms of acceptances or guarantees or tender bonds, or
yes, sir.
What are the projects we have done? Namit, of late, what are the projects we have done for supporting the Korean companies, how we can help further?
We have participated last time in the IWPP project, Integrated Water and Power Project of Qatar Electricity and Water Company. There was participation from Korean companies. There was participation in flagship Doha Metro project, and we have been engaged in those guarantees. I see in trade finance terms, I think we can support in all multiple areas, be it exports from Qatar to South Korea or import from South Korea to Qatar, or the infrastructure projects. Considering the experience and expertise of Korean companies, we see continuous participation, and we can continue to support with the project related guarantees, project accounts, risk mitigation solutions under letters of credit, confirmation, discounting for export solutions, and continuously support the imports from Korea. So to sum up all, I think we can support in all areas of trade finance.
That's wonderful. Let me move on. Now, what's the fiscal...
The South Korean government submitted its largest ever supplementary budget for National Assembly screening on Thursday morning. The budget, worth some $29 billion, is the third of its kind this year, aimed at cushioning the economic impact of COVID-19. Much of it will be used to aid local businesses and to create jobs. The parliament plans to review the budget as soon as the 21st National Assembly opens by as early as this week. And once passed by the parliament, the finance ministry plans to implement 75% of the extra budget within 3 months.
That's wonderful. Now, this is not alone. Let's look at the bilateral relationship. Now, in bilateral terms, banking has been very profound in terms of evolution, and Korean pension funds or development banks or even commercial banks have been friend and partner for commercial banks, especially Doha Bank, since 2007 and 8. Now, we have extraordinary opportunities. What's the relationship in political terms? Some of the clips I'm going to show you. Then I'm going to ask my head of international, what's the banking relationship we are growing?
Starting us off this afternoon, President Moon Jae-in is holding a bilateral summit with the Emir of Qatar, South Korea's top office, as we speak. Let's get the latest from our correspondent Shin Se-min, who's on the line for us. Se-min, they met this morning, but the two leaders are now having a working luncheon together, correct?
Right, Tiyun. The leaders of South Korea and Qatar have gone into their lunch at the top office as we speak, and President Moon and Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, the Emir of Qatar, met for about an hour this morning, where they talked about ways to improve the comprehensive partnership between the two sides, eventually leading to the signing of 7 MOUs. Now, this Envision cooperation is thought to be in the fields of smart farming, agriculture, land transportation, and smart grid technology. Let's listen to President Moon.
한국과 카타르 양국이 소중한 친구이자 전방위적 동반자로서 다양한 분야에서 우호 협력 관계를 발전시켜 오고 있는 것을 아주 기쁘게 생각합니다. 오늘날 양국 간 교역 규모는 170억 불에 달하며 많은 한국 기업들이 카타르에 진출하여 인프라 건설과 경제 발전에 기여를 해왔습니다.
And President Moon also added that Qatar is an abundant source of LNG, the liquefied natural gas, for South Korea, emphasizing the need for even more constructive and cooperative relations going forward.
Now, Sebi, we hear President Moon and the Emir have been discussing lighter topics as well.
Right. The two leaders also discussed the 2022 FIFA World Cup that will be hosted in Qatar. Now, it'll be the first time for the World Cup to take place in a Middle Eastern nation, so the leaders are expected to have talked about their experiences on building upon that. And we must remember, of course, that South Korea co-hosted the 2002 World Cup with Japan. And both leaders are believed to have discussed other sports corporations as well. And Hyun, we should know more specifics in the coming hours, and I'll bring you those updates later in the day. Back to you.
That's wonderful. In terms of banking, we have very strong opportunities. And here is Mr. Andre, are you there? Can you talk about our FI relationship, financial institution relationship, and how is it growing, how we can further strengthen it?
Absolutely. Good morning to everyone, and especially to His Excellency. It's a pleasure to address you all, and just to continue with all the presentations that we've had this morning already. The relationships between the banks in Korea and Doha Bank has always been of an excellent nature, and we expect this to continue and become even stronger now that the world is coming to grips with COVID and the markets adjusting to the new normal. As my colleagues have mentioned, all the opportunities that exist from a banking perspective, Doha Bank can, I just would like to highlight 3 or 4 issues or services that we can render to facilitate and strengthen this relationship. Starting with correspondent banking, Doha Bank is very well placed to facilitate all your payments requirements in Qatar and in the GCC region, from payments, remittances, trade reimbursements, and all kinds of settlements that you wish to do in Qatar and in the region. We can facilitate that. On the trade finance side and project-related documentation, as my colleague already has elaborated on that, we are perfectly placed to be your local partner here on the ground in Qatar, to issue your performance advance payment and financial guarantees. And you can be well comfortable that we as Doha Bank will be your partner to take all of you and your clients' needs comprehensively here in Qatar. Further to what Namit has also mentioned, in terms of the risk sharing, there are many countries and many banks in the region that Korean banks may not be able to take the risk of. And Doha Bank, with its presence and its appetite to the local banks, we are perfectly placed to take that risk off your hands and either share it with you or take it completely. Further to that, Doha Bank and Qatar is, as mentioned, is an A-rated environment. So, and as my colleague Gudni has mentioned, in terms of deposit taking or fundraising, Qatar and Doha Bank offers you an A-rated and a very secure environment to place your deposits or do some investments in this market. In conclusion, I would like to add that through all our international presence markets and branches that we've mentioned already, we can offer these services around the region and completely be your banking partner for this region. And I would also like to invite you to visit our website, where all this information and contact details are available. And I'd just like to finish by saying that I would look forward to speaking and making contact with you in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Now, just to amplify and conclude as well, the South Korea bilateral relationship, Qatar, South Korea trade exceeds 13 billion, as I said. Korean gas, co-gas agreement with Rosgas for 9 million tons since 2012. In fact, I was there in Seoul when this signature took place. And export to South Korea is LNG, oil and petrochemicals. And again, we are also importing many power equipments. We are using it in infrastructure Korea support. More than 37 fully owned Korean companies in Qatar, 140 joint ventures, investment partnership, and when it comes to EPC companies, engineering companies, now we have a very good market. Qatar has got business incubation center for support for startups, major projects. In Qatar, already Korean companies have participated with the Lusail Expressway or Humal Power. Major Korean companies, Hyundai Engineering, Samsung, and they are participating in the larger projects in terms of shipbuilding. So we have reasons to believe
Qatar Petroleum has signed shipbuilding agreements with South Korea's big three shipyards to buy more than 100 ships in a deal worth more than $19 billion. It's the largest LNG ship contract in history. Industry says, sources say that three South Korean companies, Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, Hyundai Heavy Industries and Samsung Heavy Industries will construct around 40 ships each by 2027.
So that's the opportunity we are building in bilateral terms, and we have growing relationship in terms of hydrocarbon. We have growing relationship in non-hydrocarbon, and we are also going to see how Doha Bank as a professional institute can support the bigger mission in various segments, whether it is SME, whether it is investments, whether it is corporate and commercial banking, trade, or in terms of FI or institutional banking or banking relationship. Here is a country with a significant credit rating, AA rated country. Doha Bank itself is an A rated bank. We are here to support your mission in bilateral partnership, synergistic partnership. That is the purpose of the session. You have seen the opportunities in Qatar. You have also seen how the bilateral opportunities, synergistic relationship is evolving between Qatar and Korea in terms of changing dynamics. World economies are going through reorganization. Here is the relationship. Further consolidate in synergistic terms to bring in values to all the stakeholders. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind participation. I want to personally thank His Excellency as well, and Mr. Kim Young also to has participated in this seminar and this webinar rather. And a word of thanks I will request my representative Korean Jai. Are you there to say final words?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Thank you for joining. I hope this webinar to help you to build and grow your business. We, Doha Bank, will try our best to develop and expand our long-term business relationship with you. In addition, we will contribute to develop and provide the best financial services between Korea and Qatar. We look forward to your active cooperation and participation. Once again, thank you. Have a nice day. Goodbye. 감사합니다.
Thank you. Your Excellency, my special gratitude and thanks to you, and we look forward.
Very much, and best of luck of you, and thank you so much once again for the wonderful invitation. And I look forward to seeing you personally in Dubai, inshallah.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Most welcome to Qatar. We look forward to host you.
Thank you. It's a wonderful event.
Thank you. And a lot of questions have come, and for want of time, we said 1 hour. We finished almost on time. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you. Bye-bye.